at least combat some of that.
Yes. So Melaleuca, definitely tea tree is a great one for insect bites. Basil is also really good. I have a blend here called Purify. Lavender, so we have several essential oils that are really good for bites and stings, and I'm telling you, they've been life-saving to me as well, because and I actually carry this with me everywhere I go, because one time I was out and about and somebody got stung by a bee, and it was just immediately we could add it on. You don't have to wait till you get home, and that's why I value my little keychain.
Absolutely.
Do it immediately. When you're feeling that little tickle in your throat, or you're feeling that, or you have a cut, sore, whatever, do it immediately, and that's why this can be so valuable in taking wherever you go.
And just off our subject a little bit, is that we are going to be having classes soon here in town in Payson. And if you wanted to give your name, like on either through the feed here or email Erlene, we can put you on, because we could have a class just on putting one of these together. So you would have an opportunity to buy the products, but learn how to put them together. And
so you have a keychain of your own first aid kit.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Now, aside from the effectiveness with insect bites, something else in looking through the notes today that really caught my eye, because I have a chronic problem with allergies, and I've lately been really struggling with that. That there's different oils that can really help you with that as well.
Oh, you know what? Why don't you try these while we're here? So, lemon, lavender, and peppermint together is a natural antihistamine. And so some people like to put a drop under their tongue, sometimes behind their ear. And it just really works. So, you don't have to do it while we're on here, but just to smell all three of them. To smell
and just even from this distance, take those caps off, man, and you get the aroma really quickly.
Just smell the lavender, so yeah, top it right there. So that actually.
Which one is this?
I actually took the
arsenic.
And he was never seen.
That's the lemon.
Yeah.
Okay, so
very interesting.
I think that's the, I don't remember. Is that peppermint or lavender?
Yep, that's peppermint.
But while we're doing this, the idea that oils can help with things with your ears and your nose and your throat, your allergies, it might all be caused by food, but by airborne problems as well. But these things can zero in and, eradicate.
Wow.
Yes.
What was that last one?
That was lavender.
I was going to say, don't think I've ever eaten lavender before. That was.
I always say, start with peppermint because it's hot, I should have told you, and then do the lavender because it's kind of nasty, and then end with the lemon, and we all like lemon, so.
I did everything backwards. But nonetheless, it's interesting, and so just a little
simple
pinch between your cheek and gum, and explain, if you can, just briefly what effects this is having on you physiologically.
Okay, so basically people ask us, how do they heal? We'd say they don't really. They are catalysts that actually expedite or speed up your natural bodily processes. So many times we have allergies or a cold or some of these other things. It's just that our body has slowed down, or it has a lot of toxins that it can't export as fast as it needs to. So basically these become the catalysts that start creating flow and movement and start increasing your digestion, increasing the flow of your lymphatic system, all of those things. So that's what they do. They increase flow, but they also go to the cellular level. So they kind of clear up the properties that are maybe, pollutants that we need to get rid of. And your body is naturally doing that on a daily basis anyway. We eat to nourish, we drink to cleanse, and most of the things that we're drinking on a daily basis aren't cleansing. So your body is going into overtime trying to get rid of the toxins that we're putting into our body and we're absorbing through the air. And so these just expedite the process. So they aid in the healing, the regeneration, in the natural bodily process of moving our system. And basically, that's what they do, and that's why they're so effective. If they're pure, tested essential oils. Others don't do that, but
Right.
if they're pure tested.
Well, no, one of the other things that I think we've probably all read at least a little bit about is the effect of stress on our systems, and certainly the heading here, by the way, stress, overworked, and underused muscles. I think I qualify in all of those categories. But there's even things that you can do to help with that, with the use of these essential oils.
Absolutely. For instance, carpal tunnel is nothing more than just, your hand position.
Repetitive movement, yeah.
And also frozen shoulder. I experienced this myself several years ago. It was my cramped or my poor computer posture that I was sitting at my computer every day. I was just kind of sitting here cuddled up, and I started getting this pain in my shoulder. It was just one shoulder actually, but I worked on this for 10 months. I visited doctor after doctor. I went to chiropractors, massage therapists, physical therapists, had 2 MRIs, tried everything topically that you could think of, and then I found an essential oil. It was called Siberian fir. And literally after suffering for 10 months and spending thousands and thousands of dollars, I got this $20 bottle and started applying it on my shoulder, and within 4 days, it was almost completely gone. It was amazing, and that's where I really understood the power of essential oils. And like I said, I was doing all the physical therapist exercises, I was doing all of these other things, but it just had the ability to go in and again, just create that regeneration, create that flow, remove that stagnant inflammation there. And it was just amazing how that happened. And it was just really.
Well, I've got to ask, just because I'm that kind of guy, where does Siberian fir come from?
From the Siberian fir tree.
Oh, from the fir. Okay, I was thinking some animal gave up their.
No. Siberian fir is from a fir tree.
Okay.
So we have several fir trees. We have the Siberian, the Douglas,
Right.
what are our other fir trees?
Those are the only 2 I can remember.
The balsam fir,
Oh, right.
white fir. Oh, they have such amazing essential oils, and they're really good for inflammation.
Right.
Really good for calming inflammation.
When you talk about the positive effects that this can have if you're overstressed, now is that again that the oils are helping to thwart off the physiological ramifications of the stress that you are enduring, or do the aroma, the oil, whatever, actually help you to de-stress, or both?
I think both.
Really?
Both. Both as well. So another example of this is emotional stress. Now, a lot of people don't realize some of their physical problems are emotional related. And one example, I have a dear friend named Pauline, a massage therapist, had a client come in one day who was coughing, and she gave her a little bit of our respiratory blend, had her inhale that. She got down on the massage table and she was coughing so bad she couldn't give her a massage, and so she sat her up again, tried to help her with the respiratory area, and she finally realized it had to be something emotional. Now, Pauline's very intuitive in that way, and I thought this was just so ingenious of her, but she just started asking her questions. She says, "How long have you had this cough?" And she said, "About 2 years." And she says, "What happened 2 years ago?" And she goes, "I hadn't really thought about it, but I quit my job." And she says, "Well, what happened since you quit your job?" And she started crying, and she was saying, "My husband doesn't feel like I'm good for anything anymore." And she just wept, and she said, "I feel like I'm good for nothing, and he makes me feel that way." And so Pauline here, she went to an essential oil blend called Console, and she had her just smell it. She put a little bit in her palm and she had her inhale it. She quit coughing immediately. She got down on the table, she gave her that massage, she sent some home to her, and she said as long as she was doing that, She didn't have a cough. Literally, the cough wasn't a physical pain, it was an emotional pain. She was grieving. She had been grieving for 2 years. And you know, many times we don't realize that sometimes our physical pain is really emotional pain, and we don't realize that. And so it's kind of cool that that can work in that way.
Amazing.
So smell can be powerful.
Now we're about 5 minutes more here on the radio. We hope you'll join us for the next 30-minute segment too. We'll be coming to you live on Facebook Live, where you can watch us right now if you like. Just look for KRIM FM on Facebook, and we've got a lot more to cover. But while we're still here on the radio, gut pain, and of course, I mean, I imagine that can go a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
Well, for one thing, the food that we're taking in can affect, obviously, our gut. Our gut is like our second brain, so it has a lot of control over our system. And when you're eating something that is not healthy and it puts preservatives into your system, slowly, whether it be food or airborne things, it can start to break away the barrier in your intestines. And that's where you can get a leaky gut for one problem. You know, it starts to cause perforation, and then goes into your bloodstream, and that's where you get your allergies and other areas, like other things like that, as well as
a lot of autoimmune conditions.
Totally.
Really?
Most all of them are caused from that. So.
And you know, when you're stressed, your gut is usually stressed, or vice versa.
Sure.
So that's why everything goes hand in hand. And these aren't things that you're going to take advantage of or start without, you know, to go into it slowly is what I'm trying to say. You know, it can be very overwhelming to think, well, my body's falling apart. But if you just start with healthier foods, like, I mean, the American diet is not exactly the healthiest. So there's foods that we eat on a daily basis that we could kind of shift and introduce more omegas, healthier, like seafood, you know, wild salmon and albacore and mackerel, things like that. Nuts, a lot of nuts are good for you. Green tea. I'm trying to think of some other things. I had a little list so I wouldn't forget, but I'm really not like, where are my...
Well, the bottom line is there's actually some good news to come out of all of this as far as how you can address this. And I know I'm looking at the notes, and we're just about out of time here, but one of them that I know I'm pretty religious about is I've got to get enough sleep every night. And I mean, I'm pretty militant about, I mean, not only because by about 7:30 I become, you know, profoundly much more boring than usual. I mean, it's just getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you got to be planning ahead, and if I let something get in the way of my schedule, it tends to mess up the whole next day.
Right.
So, but there's a bunch of other things that we can do too, right?
Drink water with limited essential oil. I tell you, that's a huge one. It's a simple one that it's different than the lemon juice because it comes from the rice.
And that's one of the ones that we, my wife and I had purchased through the doTERRA. Really, I mean, we both, between that and I think there was like a wild orange or something like that, both of those were, I mean, it just really made for an outstanding little twist to your ice water, but actually doing some good things all at the same time.
Really good things. Well, and this is where I feel like my essential oils, along with healthy eating, exercise, and drinking clean and getting good sleep, my essential oils they're the inflammation fighters. And we need to be using them on a daily basis as a proactive way to support good, healthy practices.
And as you mentioned before, I mean, these types of inflammation can affect not only, you know, like inflamed joints and things like that, and or wounds and those kind of things, but also even your internal organs.
Absolutely. And that's why we love the essential oils, the pure tested grade essential oils, because this is really what's going to help us fight a lot harder. And it's so much more simple, so much less expensive than what people are doing out there that isn't working. They can work on these other things forever. They just don't work. just short term, and they'll keep on forever. So
Well, one of the things that I've found very interesting over the last few months, again, as I mentioned earlier in the show today, is the fact that you bring in some foods that at first glance I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be scary. But actually they were really tasty. And we're going to take a quick break here, and we're heading back into the KRIM kitchen. And I'm going to be talking about not only maybe the 5 worst foods that you can be eating, I hate looking at that list, but also the 10 best foods that can really have a positive impact. So we're going to take a quick break on the radio here, get you back to more of your favorite music. But again, join us on KRIM FM on Facebook, and we're going to be talking for another 30 minutes about some things that you can do food-wise to perhaps get your inflammation situation under control. Meanwhile, we'll get back on the radio here to more of your favorite music. Tunes coming up from REO Speedwagon, the Wallflowers, the Lumineers, Steely Dan, and a whole bunch more. But first, a quick look at grid country weather.
okay, I'll do 5 worst foods.
Maria's simulcast meteorologist.
So welcome back, and now obviously in the KRIM kitchen, we're going to talk about some of the foods that can really benefit you, but also we need to talk about first maybe some of the ones that are not good for you. And sadly, I'm really familiar with a lot of these.
Right. So I'm going to start with the 5 worst foods, and I'm going to start with number 5, and then go to number 1, the very worst. But anyway, number 5 on the list is actually your white flour foods, your pizzas, your bagels, your pastas, all of these white flour foods. These create inflammation, and sadly, I mean gluten too, because a lot of it is genetically modified.
Easy for you to say.
That's right.
Does this mean that you could use wheat flour and not have this?
If it's genetically modified, that's why we have so many gluten intolerances now.
Oh, okay.
So Monsanto, genetically modification, it just is not servicing our gut. And we're having a lot of problems because of it. And it really creates a lot of inflammation. So fried foods is number 4 on the list. Anything fried, and almost everything you get in a box is fried, or at the fast food place, so be careful of your fried foods. 3, this is a killer one, this is your blackened and barbecued foods. Especially if they're blackened and they're cooked at really high temperatures. So if you're going to barbecue, it doesn't mean you can't, you've just got to make sure that you barbecue really low. Let it take 20 minutes, not 5, and don't eat anything that's blackened.
So if it's blackened, then the problem is carcinogens. Then.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's what creates the inflammation.
So, and you shouldn't eat charcoal either.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, lay off those briquettes.
Yeah. Tempting though they may be.
So number 2, this is the shocker for most people, but I can tell you personally, I tried this on my own body, and it is the truth. Number 2 is your nightshade family of vegetables. We think these are all very healthy for us, but if you have a little bit of inflammation in your body, it fuels it. Tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, and eggplant is our 4 nightshade food family. So I had some knee problems there for a while, and I realized that I was eating bell peppers every meal, and tomatoes, and hot sauce, and pepper sauce, and stir fry. I mean, we all love salsa
Sure.
and all those tomatoes.
You're hitting
and
pretty
chilies.
close to home there.
I know it, but those fuel
Right.
inflammation. And so get those out of your diet. At least what I did was I did it for almost a year. I just completely avoided all of those. And then occasionally I'll have a slice of tomato or bell pepper or something, but it's a rare occasion that I do. And my knees, they're just great. And so it really made a difference. It really made a
Wow.
difference. Now, everybody could probably guess number one, and that is sugar. So our refined sugar is in everything, and that is what causes most of our inflammation. So this is the sad American diet. We call it the sad diet, the sad standard American diet. These foods really fuel inflammation, and so if we can change and start implementing some of our other foods instead,
Like
like
broccoli. You know, the color alone. All your green vegetables, first of all, are wonderful, except for, of course, green bell peppers. But broccoli, having olive oil, cooking with a little bit of olive oil in your food is healthy for you. You get your omegas that way. Your nuts, and here's a great example of what a great snack that is. And you can sprinkle other herbs on it as well, just to give it a little bit more flavor if you want. Toasting them with olive oil.
There you go.
Your fish, you know, like I was saying earlier, your wild caught salmon and mackerel and albacore, tuna, yeah. And
You know, one of the questions that comes to mind real quick is that when you're talking about the potential, of using a little olive oil on things and that kind of thing, going back a few paragraphs here, when we were talking about one of the worst things is fried food. So it's not necessarily the oil in fried food, but maybe the batter and all of that
the
stuff?
high heat.
No,
The high heat
okay.
in the frying
So
of
it's still
it.
a carcinogen
Uh-huh.
concern then?
Carcinogens are created when we fry foods. And I think
they usually come
it's the
battered and
Yeah,
breaded.
yeah, and then you got all the flour in there,
and
yeah.
the sugar with it as well, so, yeah.
You know, everything a little bit easier, that's
Right.
all. So then also kelp, your sea vegetables can be, I know how much you guys like the kelp little.
Oh, yeah,
Little
yeah.
sea veg-
Kelp.
Oh, they're so
Yum.
good.
They are so healthy for you. You get your
See?
iodine through that as well. And fermented foods, which,
Scotch,
sense.
gin.
Right.
No, I'm sorry, okay.
Anything, yes. So we're talking about fermenting vegetables and sauerkraut and
Kimchi, that's
all
really
those
good.
kinds of things are really healthy. There's so many, they have kits now. You can go and buy a kit. You don't have to be a scientist to figure it out.
But I spent an awful lot of time over in the Philippines, and man, I think I had like 6 or 7 different kinds of kimchi.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, it was in South Korea, in Seoul. But I didn't realize kimchi could go so many different
What it
directions.
can do,
Oh,
it's
so
not,
good.
it's just so good for your system and
Got it.
then in your gut, and then also pineapple and papaya are also tasty, natural, fruits that you can get that will help with your digestion as well.
Love good pineapple.
Blueberries.
Blueberries,
Yeah.
yeah. All your blueberry, all your berries are great. And thankfully, we can get them almost all year, through different.
Well, now, if we're trying to stay away from, again, at the top of the bad list was sugar, there are some, even though, if you have a bit of a sweet tooth, there are still some ways to satisfy that without eating sugar.
Yes, absolutely. And so we have a couple things to try today, but before we get into that, I want to talk about the essential oils because I always use the essential oils in my foods. And this has lemon and ginger, so it's good for digestion, but it's also very cleansing. Lemon is good because it keeps your system moving and it improves the flow, and that's why putting it in your water is really good. But ginger, very good for fighting inflammation. Turmeric, copaiba is also another really good one for fighting inflammation. And also frankincense, I forgot to bring that one. Black pepper is a really good one to use along with turmeric. So we can use these in our foods. And so I created something really, really good today. And I hope you love poke bowl. So poke bowl, oh my gosh, this is just
This wouldn't be one of the
So
first times
yummy.
I've been a little concerned, but I've always been pleased every time with what's
So
going on.
actually, this is ahi tuna, poke ahi tuna. You can go right down here to Safeway. You get it already cut up. They have it cut up for you. All you have to do is buy a half a pound or a pound and go home and try this. It's so yummy, but it has several. It has like olive oil, which is good. It's one of our other inflammations fighters, and it has essential oils in it, lemon, I think it's the lemon ginger and the turmeric in there, but it has cilantro, avocado, but I just am in love with this. I tell you, this is so good. I'll give you just a little bit so that you can try it and see how you like it, but I'm telling you, this is a wonderful,
So
wonderful.
what we're talking about here is raw tuna. Now, I know with some of the stuff that I've had in the past, they were using it's like vinegar and things where you're almost like chemically cooking. Is that the case with this?
There is, yes, absolutely.
Wow.
That is one of my favorite like lunches or dinners. It's not like I eat it all the time, but I like the fact that you can go to Safeway. You find the ahi tuna that's safe for ingesting raw, and it's perfect for just stirring together. It's so simple.
Now
To stir
what are
together.
the oils in here that I'm tasting?
It is. I think it's the lemon and the ginger and the turmeric.
Might be the
pretty
ginger,
sure.
I think that, because I'm definitely getting something there. This is really good. And it's really unusual because I'm not a big sushi fan. I don't really, I've not had much of a history of enjoying raw fish. But not only is this pretty tasty, but I also, if you talk to my wife, she'll tell you that I can't stand avocado. And this is pretty tasty. So she would be really surprised with what I'm sitting here eating and enjoying this morning, because this is not typically something good, but in my mind, but this is very, very tasty.
Good.
And so is that's cilantro in there too, right?
There's cilantro, yes. And like I said, together it just, and by the way, if you want the recipes, all you have to do is email me, ask@erlenetilton.com, ERLEENTILTON.com. So just email me and we will actually send you the recipe. So in addition, I brought this layered berry cheesecake. So this, first of all, the crust is actually just walnuts.
Wow.
So I just blended them in the blender. It has a tiny bit of monk fruit sweetener, which, and then we have two layers. The bottom layer is just blueberries, and the top layer is blackberries and blueberries together. So together.
So you
this
puree this or something?
Yes, and then just put it in there, and let's see how this comes out. Let's see if we can.
While you're doing that, Donalyn, the old heritage house that we used to have, our biggest selling pie was the lemon surprise pie.
Right.
Only other pie I've ever had that had a crushed walnut crust. So I'm intrigued with this from that standpoint.
Okay, I thought I had a fork right here. Let's see,
Okay.
what did I do?
I got a
with
spoon
it?
that I can clean.
All right, there we go. So you have to taste that. That is actually coconut milk and coconut milk cream cheese and walnuts and berries and a little bit of monk fruit sweetening, and of course your lemon and ginger essential oils.
It's got all the flavor of something highly sinful. It's really very tasty.
Right. And the thing I like about making my cheesecakes is they're rich, but they're not sweet. So you taste more of the fruit rather than the over sweetness of it. So do you find that that's kind of the case? Yeah.
I think it's
Kind
good because you can get, especially with some kinds of cheesecake, they
It's
just really
so
they go over the top.
Over the top sweet.
Yeah, but
And
this
so-
is really tasty.
Good.
And you definitely, what's the oil in this?
Lemon and ginger.
Lemon and ginger.
I
Interesting.
think that we tend to, we're so used to that sad diet, and just altering a little bit
then you start to accept and think that this is the best. And then you don't want something else. You know, we just are so used to what we knew in the past and what's maybe easy and more easily accessible, but then you see this is everything here, except you might not be buying raw tuna normally, but your avocado, all of this is just easy to get.
Right.
You know, you're not having to go down to the valley to some strange store to buy these products. So
Well, the other thing to keep in mind too is most of what causes inflammation is chemicals. So we get our chemicals from all of our soft drinks and processed foods and packaged prepared foods. We get them from even pharmaceuticals. We get them from cleaning products, what we breathe in the air. And your body can't process them. And so that creates inflammation. All of these foods are completely chemical free. We shop organic and we shop, everything here has absolutely no chemicals in it. And so it's really going to nourish and feed your gut and help reduce the inflammation in your body. You can still eat good foods and enjoy the flavors and not have the inflammation.
So that's the key when it comes to that part in the produce department in the grocery store where you have all the standard stuff, but then you also have the other stuff that's a little bit more expensive.
The organic.
But you're getting away from all the chemicals and all of that.
Absolutely. All the pesticides, all the herbicides, fungicides, there's so much of that. And genetic modifications, you're getting away from all of that when you shop organic. And I always say those chemicals and pesticides, you may say they cost less, but they cost more because what you're having to deal with, what your body has to deal with, trying to get rid of them, you are spending way more
Absolutely.
than if you would shop organic to begin with.
Makes sense. That cheesecake's wonderful.
Good.
Good stuff. So, and it would seem to me that when it comes to preparing something like this, I can't believe I'm looking into a bowl of raw tuna and thinking that it really suddenly looks pretty good. This would obviously, as a dinner item, wouldn't take long to do.
Oh no, it's just a matter
Throw
of
it together
stirring it
quick.
together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you can marinate it ahead of time, or some of it ahead of time, the meat with all the seasonings ahead of time, but it's just a wonderful thing to throw together very simply, and I like simple. This is simple, they're simple things.
So you don't necessarily have to get into this big labor-intensive thing in the kitchen in order to
No.
eat healthy.
No.
And it sounds like along with this, I know one of the things that we've tried to do is, especially as far as the white flour and the breads and the potatoes, trying to get away more and more from that and just eating
The basics.
the basic without a lot of
Fruits,
the fillings.
vegetables, nuts, meats, just the basics.
Desserts. You always gotta have dessert.
exactly, and look,
But you can make healthy desserts too. So, and then add your essential oils, and that's where you get the best benefits in inflammation fighting, as well as good gut health, good
Right.
energy, sleep well.
from inhaling them, the just
Food or the oil?
both.
Okay.
But you've got it going from inhaling it all the way to the cellular level. It'll work on all your levels, right there.
That's pretty amazing. It amazes me every month. I spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I like to cook. And I had never used essential oils until getting together with you all. And we've experimented a little bit at home. And it's an amazing extra
Amazing experience.
bit of flavor and stuff like that you can add. And it's actually much better for you. So
Absolutely.
it just makes perfect sense. Now, when it comes to these recipes, I know that in the past you've always had an email that you could kick out to people that would have the recipes on it. I would imagine that today is no different.
Absolutely. So just if you're interested in these recipes, just email me again, ask@ErleneTilton.com. That's ErleneTilton.com. And I will definitely send you today's recipes.
And also let us know if you're interested in any of the classes that we'll be trying to line up through the fall and into
Absolutely.
the winter, so we can invite you to those as well.
So you're talking about kicking those off this fall.
We hope so.
All right, that sounds good.
Mhm.
That'd be interesting. Well, always a lot of good stuff. And again, if people want to contact you, the email address one more time is?
ask@erleentilton.com. ERLEENTILTON.com.
Great. As always, Donald Williams and Erlene Tilton, thank you for coming down and being with us. We appreciate it.
That's
Thank you.
Randy
Good stuff.
Roberson.
My wife will be amazed that I ate this.
It's on film.
I know.
So we've-
There's proof. Oh no. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.